So we're on the 8th limb of yoga, and so this is the final one. We've come through a journey of limbs of yoga, and this 8th one is called Samadhi. And Samadhi is kind of considered enlightenment or bliss. So the thing is that people often think, well, it's only for monks or for real hardcore yogis or for people who go and live in a cave or something like that. But it really isn't. Samadhi is accessible, in my opinion, and from what I've read and experienced, it's available to everybody. That's the whole point. Like, yoga isn't about like living life separately from real life, right? It's how do we negotiate life and the complexities of life with, when we're actually a part of it. So those ups and downs are just normal part of life, and how do we deal with those? So basically, Samadhi is about living under the kind of guidance of what yoga is. So it's when yoga becomes your way of life. And it doesn't mean doing crazy yoga poses and being able to get into like weird things, difficult yoga poses. It's not about that. It's about what we've discussed all the way through in the other limbs. So, for example, when we find love for ourselves, and I know it sounds really corny, but when we start to love ourselves and we really love other people as well, and we find kindness and compassion for ourselves and other people, it really makes a difference. And it's not just people that we know or people that we like, it's like for everybody. Right? So even a person on the street who, the whole thing with yoga is yoga means to yoke or union. So it means that we are so interconnected with everything, with other humans, with nature, with everything on the planet. So once we recognize and we can find and extend that compassion to everybody and everything and the environment and the whole of life, right? Our lives begin to change a little bit. So it's finding that divinity in everything, in everybody, that light, that special thing about each thing, even how, even in spite of all the craziness that goes on in the world. It's about finding truthfulness and honesty towards ourselves, towards other people. It's about finding awe and gratitude and loving life. It's finding drive and what really excites you, what makes you, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do with your life? It's taking that without the expectations of where you're going to get, but just finding the discipline to do those things. And then it's about being in the present moment. It's about being here right now, enjoying the moment, not fretting about the past or the future. It's really taking moment by moment and being in that time. So it's also about becoming observers of our minds, of our own selves. And as we observe ourselves and we notice, some of the patterns and maybe some of the negative patterns that we live, right? Perhaps it's observing them in a kind way and really working to change those patterns and have the patterns that we really like and that really serve us and serve the world and other people. And so it is about moving the body. It is about breathing. It is about finding space for our minds, right? Away from all the chaos of life, calming the mind, giving it that space, right? So really, it's about finding inner contentment and love for life. Calm, happiness, a sense of purpose, clarity within ourselves. So regardless of the craziness that happens, right, it doesn't matter if we're in the middle of an epidemic, or it doesn't matter if there's like a health issue within ourselves or with our family. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. Of course, there's pain and we still experience it. So it's not saying that we it doesn't mean that we don't experience it. What it means is that we have the tools within ourselves to allow ourselves not to have these crazy ups and downs. Of course, we're going to have some, but it allows us to find those tools and come with whatever we're dealing with in life, with kindness, with compassion, with love. So really, ultimately, it's about surfing the crazy waves of life, but with expertise, with knowledge, right, with tools, so that we can do it really well. So there is our final limb of yoga, Samadhi. And again, as I said, it's accessible to all of us. So we might not get, maybe we're not doing everything in that, but the more that we work and we practice, the more we can access a little bit more of that enlightenment, that bliss. So we're going to do our class today. We're going to use the wall. So if you have a wall space, or you have a door that you can use, something that's solid behind you, I recommend it. You can otherwise do it without, but it will be fun to be using the wall. All right. So I want you to come into a seat against the wall. So what that means is you can use a cushion or a block beneath you if you like. You don't have to. And we're just going to use the support of the wall to help us sit up really tall. And we're going to press the shoulder blades back into the wall, so they're still away from the ears. And you can just rest your hands on your legs for now if you like. And you can close your eyes if you like too. So we're just pausing here, noticing our connection with the ground, noticing our connection with the wall, the support that both the ground and the wall are offering us. Notice how you are doing today without judgment. So you can check in with your physical body, with your emotional body, and with your mind. So maybe it's chatty, whatever it's doing, just noticing. And then we're going to slow the breath down, so breathing through the nose, inhales and exhales, long, slow breaths. If you know that Ujjayi breath, that victorious breath, the one which has an audible sound, constriction at the back of the throat, go ahead and start with that. Otherwise, just working with inhales and exhales through the nose and just slowing the breath down. While you're here, just noticing any sounds around you. They can be far away, they can be closer to you. Just observe. And pausing, keeping those slow breaths. And we're going to come and do a breathing exercise here. We're going to use Kapalabhati breath, which most of us have done before. It's just focusing on the exhale. So it's called the breath of fire. And what happens is you exhale very fast, and the belly comes in towards the spine. on your exhale. The inhales just happen ordinarily, but it's through the nose as well. If it's too challenging to do that, you can just breathe normally as well. We're going to bring the arms up above the head, pressing them against the wall. The fingers are going to be curled in, but the thumbs are going to stick out towards each other. So your shoulders are pressing into the wall. The arms are pressing into the wall. If this is too much for your shoulder, if it doesn't work for you, you can just place your hands on your legs. So it's quite an active pose. And I'll show you just with the Kapalabhati how it works if you like, or you can keep your eyes closed. So what happens is I'll take a deep inhale to begin, and then so it's forceful exhales as my belly goes in, and the inhales I'm not even paying attention to. They just happen normally. So on an inhale for everybody, we'll get started. Take a deep inhale and then hold the breath, squeezing in the pelvic floor muscles and squeezing in, seeing if you can get the belly in towards the spine one more time, holding here for a moment. And then when you're ready, you can exhale and you can move the thumbs towards each other and see if you can get them to touch. And then hands can come down to heart center. You might notice they're feeling quite challenged or worked. And then gently opening the eyes. We're going to move anything that we're sitting on, and we're going to come into a seated pose. The toes are going to come up. Our shoulders are pressing into the wall or the door. And you can find a little bit of movement here. So you can move the toes up and down, and your seat is pressing into the wall too. And then you can also make some little circles with your ankles in one direction and then in the other direction. Now you might want to take it a little bit further by pressing the forearms into the wall. The toes are coming up, activating them, and you're just leaning forward a bit, still with a really straight back. So this should work the hamstrings a little bit. Breathing here. And then slowly coming back up. We're just going to turn around to the wall, to face the wall, and we're placing the feet flat on the wall. And so we're coming into like a boat pose here, Navasana. Feet into the wall. And breathing here. So you'll want your back really straight. You can play with straightening the legs as well if you want, but keeping the back straight is the most important thing. Deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And then you can bring your feet down, and we're coming up to a standing. So we're going to just come into Tadasana for a moment, mountain pose, palms facing out, shoulders pressing in. And again, just leaning back into the wall, you can close your eyes and just notice how it feels to have support, not just under your feet, but on behind your back, behind your legs. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, exhaling mouth. Two more like that. Inhale nose, exhaling mouth. One more time. Opening the eyes. Now we're going to interlace the thumbs. So they're just kind of like, we're just hooking the thumbs over each other, one over the other, and bringing the arms up overhead. You're pressing the shoulders into the wall. So again, just listening to your body. If this is really hard, you've got a frozen shoulder, you might have to do a variation. Maybe you can bring your arms up or find something that works for you. But we're trying to get a little side stretch, but keeping both shoulders connected to the wall. Inhale, calming on up. Exhale, going the other way. Again, trying to get connection with the shoulders against the wall. Inhale, calming up. Hands can come to heart center. We're going to bring the feet forward a bit, and we're going to come into a variation of a chair pose here. So you can stay here, hands can come down on the legs, and maybe this is plenty. It's quite hard. You're pressing shoulders into the wall. But if you want, you can lift up through one leg. It's hard. Placing it back down, trying the other leg. Placing that back down, taking a breath here. You can always come up with the arms up. Hands can come onto the thighs. We're coming on up, and we're just going to open into goddess pose. So the feet are still quite a distance from the wall, but the back and the shoulders are leaning against the wall. So finding openness here. You can bring the hands up to the top of the thighs, so the shoulders rise up towards the ears. This is one of the few poses where it's okay to do that. And then maybe bringing that right arm down on that leg and reaching over, trying to keep both shoulders on the wall again. Inhaling, coming up, and exhaling, other direction. Calming back up and reaching up, star pose. Hands to heart center, heel toeing the feet in. We can also come back to the wall, finding Tadasana, closing the eyes, slowing the breath down. So, coming away from the wall, we're turning towards the wall. Now, again, listening to your shoulder. This might help or it might not if you have frozen shoulder. It might be a bit challenging. So you may have to find what works for you. Your hands are coming as high up the wall as you can. You're about a foot away from the wall with your feet, with your toes. And then you're going to stick your butt out a little bit, bringing your chin and your chest towards the wall, looking up at your fingers. So it's a really good shoulder stretch. Breathing here. And then you're going to step back a little bit more, pressing the wall, and you're just coming into a nice L shape here, pressing the butt back, bringing the chest, so you're pressing the chest down towards the ground. You don't want to just let your head drop, you want your ears in line with your arms, really pressing back, opening through the chest here. And then you're going to walk forward a little bit. We're going to come into a forward fold against the wall. So I'm bending my knees a lot. You might be able to keep them a lot straighter. But I'm bringing my shoulders and my head down the wall here. And you might have to make any adjustments. You can lengthen your legs any amount. I have extremely tight hamstrings, which is why I need to keep my knees bent. You might find you have a little more space. but listening to your body and playing with what works for you. Breathing here, just notice this pose. And if it doesn't work for you, you can continue with the pose we just did, where we were just stretching out the back. Slowly coming out of this. Excellent. And we're going to come to the ground here. We're going to come, you've got a choice. So we're either going to come into gate pose. So you'll have the foot, the left foot is pointing back towards the right toes. And you're just going to bring your back and your arms up the wall, if that feels okay for your shoulder, looking up at the ceiling, if that's okay for your neck. You're making any adjustments. If it doesn't work for your arm, just placing it down and looking to the side, if that's better for your neck. So listening to yourself here. If you want to go a little bit deeper or differently, you can lift up through both of the legs, lengthening through both, lifting up through the hips, and using the support of the wall to help you stick with this pose. Deep breaths. And then we're going to come down, hands and knees, and we'll come the other direction. So we're going to either come into gate pose. You're working the same, many of the same muscles, or you can lift up, coming on the edge of your foot. And of course, you can come up with any variation that you like in the pose. And it's just, you've got little extra supports to help you with alignment and to get into the pose a bit more deeply. And coming down, we're going to come forward here. Knees, and it's a bit awkward to get into, but your knees come up towards the wall and your feet and legs come up. And we're going to come into Sphinx arms here. So you're going to bring your elbows underneath shoulders, hands are coming out in front of you, and you're opening, so you're pulling your fingers, you're dragging a little bit to try and help open through the chest here. Now, if you have a little bit of more space in your back, but being very careful you don't want any crunching or any pain, so you can lengthen through the arms, bring your head a little bit closer to your feet. And then slowly coming down, you can bring your hands tented either side of the chest. And then inhale, you can lift up. So the fingers are you're just on the fingertips here. Inhale here. And exhale, looking around your right shoulder. Inhale through center. And exhaling out, looking over your left shoulder. And coming back to center. Slowly coming back down. And we're going to come out of this. It's not so easy, but just coming out as best as you can. And we're going to come back up standing. So you're going to bring your right heel, lifting it up so that it presses into the wall. And then the left foot is forward. You're squaring your hips. And then you're going to bring that front knee forward. So this is warrior one, but you're using that back heel, pressing it back behind you. Arms are going to come up. You can hold onto your elbows if you like, and you can just look at your left elbow, and then move your head over and look at your right elbow. And coming back to center. Interlacing the hands, pressing down and back, really pressing through that back heel though. Notice how that might change the pose, really activating that back leg. Now, we're going a little bit more crazy, so we're going to try and lift up through that back leg. We'll see if there's enough. If you have, you might have to adjust the front leg a bit. But we're coming up into a warrior three, trying to keep the hips even and trying to open through the chest. It's challenging. So finding that patience, that kindness, that love for yourself, and just giving it a go or finding an alternative. Slowly bringing the foot down. We're turning onto the side. You might want to find some block or books or something as some assistance. We're coming into half moon or Ardha Chandrasana. The right foot is coming up the wall. You might find that you don't need a block because you've got the pressure of your foot into the wall. So you're really pressing into the wall. So quite often, even when we're not using the wall, I often say to people, do as though you're kicking into the wall or a wall behind you, so that you're activating through the toes of that back foot. You're pressing the heel back, and it helps you to lift. Breathe in here. And then bringing that leg down. Again, coming back. Pausing here. Deep breaths. Shoulders pressing into the wall. Slowing the breath down. So we're going the other way this time, or the other foot this time. So it should be the left foot back, right foot forward. And then you can bend through that front knee, really pressing that heel into the wall. Arms can come up. And again, you can grab onto the elbows. And if you want, you can look up, just looking up at the ceiling. And breathe. Interlacing the fingers here behind the back, maybe opposite way, so it feels a bit unusual, with a different thumb on top, pressing the hands down and back. And then you're going to lift up through that back leg, really pressing it in and pressing the arms back and up, so you're opening through your chest. You're trying to find evenness through your hips. So that left hip is coming down, left hip is coming down to even with the right hip. Breathing here. And coming down. We're turning to the side and we're going to come into our half moon. So that back leg can come up, finding the right distance to the wall. And finding your pose here. So even though it's just your foot touching the wall, we sometimes do this with our back touching the wall, but we can notice how just a small connection with the foot can make a big difference to how a pose feels. Breathing here. Excellent. And then coming back to the wall. Tadasana. Closing the eyes. Right, we're going to come into a downward facing dog. And just like with warrior one, where we had the heels pressing into the wall, we're going to be doing that here. So you're going to feel the heels press back into the wall as you lift up through the legs. And you're pressing the body back towards the wall. So you're lifting up the sacrum and pressing it back towards the wall. Downward facing dog. Now you're welcome to stay here. This might be enough and you might not feel like doing an inversion. If you want to go the route of inversions, you can move the left leg up the wall and right leg is going to come down a bit more. So it's like a pyramid pose on the wall. It's not as hard as it seems. You're still using the hands to press back towards the wall. warrior one version where you're bending through that front knee. And then the very last inversion, you might bring your hands a little closer. It's a little challenging. You're coming into an L shape against the wall. And this is where you can play with starting a handstand practice. And when you're ready, for those who are up, just coming back down into a downward facing dog. Pressing back with the heels. And you can just bend through the knees and just come down into a child's pose, pressing the feet, maybe the balls of the feet, into the wall here. If it's too much for your shoulders, because we've done a lot of shoulder work today, just bringing the hands towards the walls. Fingers might graze the wall. And pause. And then we can slowly come up. So we're going to do the same on the other side. So if you're just working with downward dog, I say just, but there's so much you can do with just being in sticking with downward dog. Sometimes staying in the same pose can be even more challenging than messing with a lot of different poses. So it's not to say one is better than the other, or that one is more advanced than the other. It absolutely is not the case. So you're just coming back, pressing the wall here. And you can play, if you're staying in downward dog, with bending knees or twisting, like you could grab onto a leg. So there's lots of opportunities. Otherwise, if you're coming up, the right leg is going back first, and then the left leg is coming down the wall. So it's like a pyramid pose against the wall, up the wall. And then if you want, you can stay here as many breaths as you want. And if you want, you can bend through that front knee, coming into a warrior one. And then if you like, you can move your hands a little closer, moving feet down, finding that L shape. It takes a lot of shoulder strength. So being kind to yourself, compassionate with your friend self, understanding yourself. It's okay if it doesn't work. Breathe in here. And then you can move the feet, downward facing dog, bending through the knees, hands coming back, forehead down. Taking a few breaths here. Excellent. Slowly finding your way up. We're going to come sideways to the wall here. And you're going to cross the right leg behind the left. So my right hip is close to the wall, right? So I'm just giving you that information so you know that it's the same, it's the leg closest to the wall that then crosses behind the other one. So I'm about half a foot or a bit more away from the wall. And I'm just going to fold forward here. And I'm coming on my left fingertips. And then I'm going to bring my right arm on my fingertips up the wall. So it's a little twist here. Deep breaths. Notice how it feels. And coming down. You can slowly bring your arms forward and coming all the way up, hands to heart center, uncrossing the legs, working on the other side. So this time it's your left leg that comes behind the right, and your left hip is closest to the wall. We're just going to fold forward here. Then the right hand, the fingertips are on the ground, or you can use a block, it's not a problem. And then we're just twisting open here to the left side. Notice where you feel the stretches. Notice what's happening in your mind in these different poses. Just observe like a scientist. And then bringing both hands down. You're just folding down a little deeper. And then the arms can reach forward and all the way up. Hands can come to heart center. And you can release through the legs. Excellent. So we're going to then come away from the wall, facing it, and stepping the right foot forward. We're going to place the hands on the wall again, and we're going to come into a pyramid pose on the ground now. So what happens here is we're trying to really press the wall away and get length through the back. The right hip is coming back and the left is coming forward. Breathing here. If you're finding that it's not too difficult, you can move away a bit and see if you can get longer stretch through the arms and through the back. And then we're going to move that front foot back a little bit and just lifting up through that back leg. So try to find length enough through your arms so you're really pressing and get it into the wall and lifting through that leg. Excellent. That leg then comes down. Pressing back, another L shape here. And then we're going to work the other side. Oh, so before we get there, we're just bringing left forward a bit, right back a bit. Left hip coming back, right coming forward. So the inner thighs start to come together. And then you're pressing the wall away. And again, you might adjust your legs, giving yourself a bit more space and length in your back. And breathe, long, slow breaths. And then you're going to move that left foot back just a little bit and reach up with that right leg. Trying to keep the hips even, trying to keep the back long, and breathe. Right leg comes down, pressing back, getting length through the back. And slowly finding your way up. Last chance at Tadasana, mountain pose. Back pressing against the wall, closing the eyes. Just notice which muscles you can feel or maybe that got worked. Just really paying attention to your body, to your breath. Excellent. Slowly opening the eyes. You're going to turn around towards the wall again and we're going to come down into a seated pose. We're going to bring the legs wide. So we've got a straddle here and you can use the pressure of the wall to try and open up just a little bit more. Your aim, though, is to really keep that back straight. So lengthening through the back, finding openness through the thighs, and breathe. You might find that you get a little bit of space, that you can open up a little bit more. But of course, you don't want to push anything to get to this stage where you hurt something. So you're really listening to your body and just going as far as makes sense. Your back wants to be as straight as it possibly can. If you have a bit more space, you might be able to lean forward and bring yourself hands against the wall, or maybe forearms against the wall, as long as you can keep the back straight. And then slowly coming back, the bending through the knees. You're just going to lie down on your mat. You can be a little bit of a distance from the wall to begin with, and you're just going to see if you can get right angles here at your knees and at your ankles. And you can take the right ankle, cross it over the left, and press that right knee back towards the wall. So you're just opening up through the hips here. Now, if you've got a lot of flexibility in your hips, you might find that you can come much closer to the wall, or maybe your butt comes all the way to the wall. And then you can also play with this pose. You want to keep your right foot active, so the toes are coming in towards the knee. The knee is pressing towards the wall. So you might all scoot your butts up, because there's variations here. You can, if you've got quite tight hips, you can just have the left leg straight up against the wall. And then if you've got a little bit more flexibility, you can start bending that other knee as much as you like, and try and keep the sacrum just coming down towards the ground. And breathing here. You can close your eyes, you can go a bit more inwardly if you like, slowing the breath down. And then switching sides. If you want to move back away from the wall, go for it and have everything at right angles. If you'd like being closer to the wall, go for that. Activating the foot on the left, and then you can bend that right knee any amount. Try and keep the sacrum moving down towards the ground. Noticing where you feel this stretch. Seeing if you can breathe, and notice if your mind is going elsewhere. See if you can gently bring it back to this present moment. Few deep breaths, 2 more. Long, slow inhale, and long, slow exhale. And 1 more, just like that. And release, just putting legs up the wall. So if your butt is a little bit away from the wall, see if you can scoot it all the way up. Really great restorative pose here. Taking 3 deep breaths, shoulders pressing into the floor, lower back pressing into the floor. And when you're done, we're going to move the legs back into a straddle here. So it's slightly different. gravity is helping in a different way. So we're just opening up, toes are active, so the feet are flat, toes coming towards the knees or the hips. And so you can stay here, this might be perfectly enough. If you have a little bit more room, you might come up onto the forearms here and breathe here. Now, some people, and I don't think I'm there, might find that they have a little bit more room to be able to lengthen up and bring their chest up towards the wall, but being careful of knees, being careful of you don't want anything to get injured. So you're just going to your edge maybe, or a bit before your edge, and breathing there. You can keep your eyes open with a soft gaze, or just closing your eyes gently and taking some deep breaths. You've got this. Relaxing back down, feet are going to come together, knees pressing towards the wall, Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. Few deep breaths here, maybe loosening the jaw by moving it from side to side. And then we're going to bring the legs up the wall again. And we're going to maybe come into shoulder stand if it feels good. If you're not into shoulder stand, you can just keep your legs up the wall. This is wonderful. Such a great pose for so many things. If you want to play with shoulder stand, you've got the wall to really help you with support. So you can bend through the knees and you can press into the wall here, and you can bring your hands underneath your back to support them. Now, to support your back. Now, what's really key here is you bring your elbows in as close as possible. And then maybe you just stay here, or you can play with lifting one leg and lifting the other leg, pressing the ball of the foot up towards the ceiling. And if you really want to, you can play with both legs coming up. And any variation that you like here. But I love the support of the wall to really, particularly if this pose is very challenging and seems inaccessible when you're away from the wall, this is a wonderful way to get into it. So wherever you are playing here, just for a few more breaths. And then whenever you're ready, you can slowly lower yourself, just being kind to yourself here, calming down. Excellent. So just pressing your lower back down into the ground, pressing your shoulders into the ground, maybe scooting your butt up closer to the wall. Maybe it's kind of come away a little bit. Excellent. And we're just going to move the left leg down to the side, to the ground or towards the ground. So making sure you have some space. It may work, it may not, especially if you only have a door. So just listening to yourself. And the right, or your space that you have, the right hand can come down, or the arm can come down to the right side. So you're kind of making an asymmetrical pattern here, but it's, you've got left arm up, right leg up. Taking a couple of breaths here. And really starting to go even more deeply inwards. can do this with eyes closed or a soft gaze. Taking deeper breaths, taking breaths more deeply than you've taken all day. And then arms and legs can meet at center. And go in the other direction. Right leg down, left arm coming down. Breathing. Arms and legs come up together. You're going to bring the arms back down, coming out either side of you, so it's like a T. And bending through the knees, the feet can press into the wall. So you're making like a little ball with your lower half of your body. And then you can walk your feet over to the left side. So you're coming into a little twist, and then you're looking over your right arm. Spinal twist here. Few deep breaths. Feeling the ground beneath you, feeling the wall underneath your feet or behind your feet, and just notice how good that feels. And then walking the feet back up through center and over to the other side. Little spinal twist. You can look over the left fingertips if that feels good for your neck. And you can close your eyes if that feels good. Calming back through center, giving yourself a really lovely unconditional hug for all the craziness that we have to go through that's called life. So being there for yourself, having your back, it's not easy. Finding compassion, kindness, love for yourself in those moments. And then releasing through the arms and the body. You can bring your legs up the wall if that feels good for Shavasana. Or you can come out of the wall pose and just come into regular Shavasana, lying flat on the ground. It's your choice. If you're in legs up the wall, just making sure that your lower back is moving down and pressing down towards the ground. If that doesn't work for your legs, just bend your knees a little bit, giving yourself that ability to have the lower back flat on the ground. And just pausing here, giving yourself this gift of some time and some space with nothing that you need to do, no control, just letting go of everything. your body, maybe wriggling your toes or your fingers, wherever you're at, whether you've got your legs up the wall or if you're just lying on the ground, finding that movement, maybe moving your arms up overhead, finding a nice stretch there, and then bringing knees in towards the chest. Final hug of the class, squeezing legs in. And then rolling onto your right side, you can maybe use your right arm as a pillow. Just noticing the ground there supporting you. And gently press yourself up into a seated pose. You can have something to sit on, a cushion or a block or a book, or just sitting with your back against the wall. Finding length through your spine, maybe your thumbs and index fingers can touch. Again, finding that length in the spine, shoulders pressing into the wall. We're going to end with a small mantra session. It's just sounds that really, the vibrations are powerful. And we're going to make the sound sa, ta, na, ma. And as we do that, we're going to move the thumb between each of our fingers. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma, sat, nam, actually means the truth is my name. So it's recognizing that sense of divinity, that sense of truthfulness, that who you really are deep inside is always there. So you can just sit up tall, you can focus on your breath, long slow inhales and exhales if you like, through the nose. And then you can, as you wish, and as fast as you want or as slow as you want, just moving the thumb between each fingers with the sound sa, ta, na, ma. So just finding some concentration and focus here, just for a short time. See if you can keep your mind on this activity. If your mind should happen to wander, just reel it back in, it's okay. And then coming to the end of this round, just noticing how you feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. Bringing hands to heart center. Inhale, reaching the arms up and touching at the top. Exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhale, reaching out and up. Gathering positive energy and bringing it in towards your heart. Inhale, reaching out and up. Exhaling, finding your heart center. pausing here, finding some gratitude, kindness, love towards yourself, and also maybe radiating that out to others. And bringing the hands up to the third eye center between the eyebrows. It has been a pleasure going on this journey of the 8 limbs of yoga with you. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.